Go. All right. So, starting as I went into my MLS and just went into my normal deal, right? So now, if I'm gonna go, I'm just gonna go do a quick residential search. And here's the concept, and I talked about this with Steve before, right? Is I love Nick LaRocca's take on this, right? I gotta cast this big wide net, and then I gotta kind of reel it in, right? And like I was telling Steve the last time we talked about CMAs, I used to do it the other way. I got really focused and then got a little bit bigger. It's different way of skinning the cat, right? So I'm going to start with my two variations of this, right? So I'm going to start very close here, but I'm going to cast my big net over here. So we're going to start over here. I'm doing this based on the house that I have empty right now that you guys can practice on, right? So I don't want to deal with anything least, but everything else I want to compare. So I'm clicking everything but least. So everything else. Now I want to do it as a single family detached house. And it's not new. So I'm going to use new because obviously that gives us some ideas, and then it's at least, you know, in very good shape. So I selected all these. So I literally held down shift and did my click, and that way I got all three of those. Okay. I want it to either be new construction or a resale. So again, I held down shift to select these, right? And then from there, I don't really care about the history and any other age descriptions right now. So that's my first thing. Now I'm coming over here and I'm going to type in the address. So it's 125 Sherry Drive in Hammond, Louisiana. If this stays blank, this starts at 0.25 miles. And then I can increase from there. All right. So without selecting anything else, you can see we have 3 matches. Well, 3 matches is not a very big group sampling size to get an idea of what the value could be. I'm going to show you, I'm going to go to results and show you what we've got. So right now we have 3 sales that we could compare this to right now. But if we look, one of them's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, one's a 3-2, one's a 3, 1.5. Okay, well, we haven't put anything in over here yet, right? So I'm going to try to cast my big wide net. I've got it narrowed in, so we can obviously start taking that out a little bit further. But I need to try to compare some apples to apples. This one happens to be a 3-bedroom. And it's only a 1-bath, right? Now, what's the difference between a 1-bath and a 1.5 or a 2-bath? Another toilet, right? That's a big deal for a lot of people, especially if they have family. So we could put a range here if we want, so we can start to get an idea, right? No problem there. But we want to compare our 3 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms. A 4th bedroom is a really big deal to most people, right? That means you got more square footage. I got another spot to put my munchkins, whatever it may be. So when I added that 3-bedroom, you'll notice I already lost one of those matches from before, right? We had 3, but that 4th bedroom one went away. There's no shot that I can get a good evaluation of price based on 2 houses. None. Right? So now I got to start going out some. Ooh, I went out a half a mile and I'm already at 7 matches. I'm getting a whole lot better, right? Let's just see what happens if I go out a mile. I'm at 20. Well, 20 is a really good number that I could start playing with. Agreed? 20 is way better than 2, right? So we're just going to stay there for a guesstimation, right? For fun, Let's see what happens if I make this just a 3-1. I went back down to 2.
Whoa.
Whew. Right? So by adding that extra possibility of a bathroom, I've got some more that I can at least start comparing and getting an idea on, right? So let's go look at the results. Big, huge difference, right? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 active. I've got 2 that are continue to show. And then I've got whatever the rest number here is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sold, 1 under contract, 1 withdrawn, and 2 expireds. So we have a pretty big swath of types of properties now, right? So here's where your next step comes in. You need to go through and look at these things. You're going to have, and this is where you guys need to get into this property so you can compare them, right? How do you compare the house that you want to list to pictures on the internet if you've never been in the house? This is that conversation we have with for sale by owners all the time. I can't compare your pictures to these pictures, right? I need to get in the property and walk around and feel the space and look at it. So when I'm now having to compare it to these other ones, I can get an idea, a true idea of what your house looks like versus the ones on the internet, right? So we would select on our deal, and we would start going through the pictures, right? We would start going through and we do all of these, okay? If this one happens to be one that you think is comparable, I can click that little box, it turns me blue, and then I can go to the next one. Well, this is a new build. I don't have any pictures, right? I don't know. So I'm going to say it's not comparable right now. Okay, well now I got David Drive. Okay, so now I would go and look through these. Right, is this comparable? Yes or no, compared to the house that you go look at, right? So what I'm going to do, just for our purposes, right? So we can have an idea of what a CMA would look like. I'm going to select all of these, having not, I took out those 3 new ones, right? That I knew. I'm going to take all the Tranquility Trace ones out, right? Just for fun. Okay. So I've selected all of these. Okay. I'm assuming that you have gone through and looked at all of these different ones, right? I'm going to eliminate this one right here because it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Well, that's 1.5 times the number of bathrooms we have, right? So I'm pruning down my numbers a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to hit this button right here, 1-line CMA. And when I do that, it's going to generate this single piece of paper CMA for me. This is the high D personality way of looking at a CMA, right? Very bullet point-esque. So if I look at it, it gives me 2 actives. And now I come over here, it tells me how many beds, how many full baths.
How'd you get that 1-line CMA?
Once you've selected all that you want, I hit 1-line CMA.
Oh, right there. Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. It tells me the approximate living area, right? We didn't put that in on 125 because I'm going to make y'all go do a little investigation, right? Tells me the age, tells me the list price, and it tells me the list price per square footage. And over here, days on market. Okay. Now, I'm going to go through and talk about what's the information that we get from each different type of property. So active tells me what? What am I competing with these people for? And anybody online, feel free to jump in. Yo. Talk to me, Mel. holding on. I don't know.
So
what
that's your active competition.
Yes. So these are my active competition. These are the people that I am in a beauty contest with, right?
Right.
My house got to be prettier than theirs. I got to get them to ask me to dance. Okay. What else can I get from looking at this active data or active listings?
What the price point is, huh?
Sure. So I can see what they're asking, right? I can see what their list price is. I can see what their list price per square foot is, right? These are actual real numbers. And I can see their days on the market. Are they under contract? No. So this is what they're hoping to get, right? We're hoping that the person did a good job in pricing it. So this is what they're asking.
Right.
This is also, if you think about it, this is kind of what the sellers are expecting, right? If we listed it at 133, you can make the assumption, well, that's what the seller is expecting. That's what they want to get. Maybe they know it's worth a little bit less and they wanted to bump it a little bit, but this is a number that they've wrapped their head around. Okay. What does expired tell me? What does expired tell me?
We have to call them.
We have to call. Yes, good. Well done, Jackie. What else?
You got to price it probably below that if you want to sell it.
Right, depending
Or
on. Go ahead.
It was either overpriced or something's wrong with the property.
Something caused it not to sell, and we don't know what that is. A lot of times it is priced though, correct? So when I look at my expired, I can see what they were asking and what they're asking per square foot was and how long it was on the market. So I have some data that I can get from expires. That's why I want to look at it, right? What does the listing pending continue to show tell me about the property?
What people are willing to pay for a similar property.
All right, so be careful with that. Do you know what it's under contract for?
No.
But can we assume it's probably close to this number? Probably.
I would say between 3 and 5%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there sometimes there will be deals and all that good stuff, but unless it's a like big fixer upper or something like that, we know that there's probably an offer somewhere around here, and we know exactly how long it was on the market. So if I have a property that's similar to 13 Darrell Drive and it's similar in size to this one, and I list it for somewhere around this, it probably is going to go into contract pretty quickly. And these are some pretty decent size price points. 146 a square. Like, I'll take that all day, right? Now, this one's 3 years old. It's pretty new. Now, as I start looking through and diving into it, what's the minimum, what's the max, what's the average, what's the median? I can start to look. When I started doing the math, the median 130.94, right? I don't know who that is, but okay. And then I've got the sold data. What do I get out of sold data?
What the market's willing to pay.
And I know that exactly because I know what it sold for, right? So I can look. This one's 311. Approximate square footage is 1364. It had a list price of 135. It had a list per square foot of just under $99. It sold at 130 at 95 a square. And now here's some key stuff. When did it sell? The closer in time that it sold, the better comparison that is. Because can we say that February 10th, 2021, literally 2 weeks ago, is more relevant than something that happened back in the beginning of December?
Absolutely.
Sure. What about all the way back to March of 2020? Well, it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
We were allowed to go out and see people, right? So now I get when it's sold, so I can start to get a really good idea of what are strong comps. I can look at the sales price to the listing price. So this one got 96%, 97%, 97, a little over 100. They got 100%, 98, over 100%. And I also know exactly how long they were on the market, right? So solds are really good for us to pull, but I also want to look at all these other ones. Like I want to know who I'm in competition with. I want to know that this one's been on the market for 392 days. Well, if it's been on the market for that long, hopefully the seller has more wiggle room and is more willing to negotiate on this price. This one's only been on 18 days. Well, there's very similarly priced. This one on David is way less per square footage. It's newer, it's less per square footage. They probably have less room that they're willing to negotiate. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? So I'm starting to look at all of these things that come out of this data. Okay. Now, if I'm in my criteria and I know approximate living square footage is somewhere between 1,200 and 1,350. Well, now look, I went down to one match just by changing this living area. So if I wanted to get very specific, and I don't know off the top of my head what the living square footage is for 125 Sherry Drive, but let's say it's in this range. Well, now maybe I would have to come out and start going further away from that to redo exactly what I just did. And now I start comparing all of these.
Apples to apples.
I'm trying to get as apples to apples as I can. I want a big enough net to get enough things to look at, but then I got to start narrowing it down. Because if you show up to me and say, hey, Anthony, this 4-bedroom, 2-bath home is comparable to this 3-bedroom, 1-bath, I'm going to look at you like you're an idiot, right? It's got an extra bedroom. It's got an extra bath.
Right.
Like, now I also need to start going, some of these are in not so great of a neighborhood. So now I need to start at that local expert to go, I'm not going to use this one on Mary because that's kind of in a bad part of town compared to where this one is.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Hey, Anthony,
Yes, sir.
Anthony, can I ask you a question?
Please.
With what you just did, when you put that square footage in there and it limited your comparables, how many you can compare it with.
Yep.
Would it be better to compare a home that's a bigger in the same neighborhood with less square mileage, or same square footage with bigger square mileage? Because like you just said, you know, when you increase that radius, you can totally get to another part of town that's not really a comparable. So, I mean, would it be better to compare a 1,300 square foot house in the same neighborhood with a 1,700 square foot house in the same neighborhood than a 1,300 square foot house across town,
So
3 miles away?
So the answer is yes and no. And here's why. I'm not an appraiser. So I'm not comfortable doing like big adjustments. So I would need to reach out to an appraiser to help me do some big adjustments. 400 square feet at $135 a square, that's a pretty good chunk of change. What I would rather be able to do is compare a home that's similar to this one in another neighborhood that's similar to this one. Because as a buyer, there's a huge difference for me with that extra 400 square foot. But this home that I can afford in this college town area where this one happens to be, and Whitmar Acres, for example, those may be comparable neighborhoods that I would be willing to be in because that's kind of the houses that I'm looking at. Right? So that's where, again, your expertise of your area starts to come in and go, all right, as I'm looking at this list, this one isn't really as comparable as this one because it's a dissimilar neighborhood, right? So you could do it either way, Rich. You just have to, you got to kind of feel that out on if nothing else is showing up, you can always go and get a broker opinion pricing, BPO, or get a pre-listing appraisal. Like if there's just like there's nothing, I'm not finding anything. Well, then let's go and bring in the expert and get a real number, as opposed to what we're doing. The more you do this, you're gonna get really good at it. You're gonna get pretty zeroed in, and there's always another level for someone who does it better. Does that answer your question, Rich?
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Now, here's the next thing that I want to show you, right? So here's our CMA that we did, right? I changed our parameters, so I'm going to close that one. Again, I'm just going to, for our purposes, I'm going to go take a couple of these out because I just know without really doing anything that I'm going to take these out. All right. Without me looking any further, here's my new one-line CMA. Boom. I've got my actives again. I've got solds. I've got a withdrawn, right? We didn't talk about withdrawns earlier. What do we get info-wise on withdrawns? What do they tell us?
They were either overpriced or something was wrong with the property, most likely, or the agent didn't do a good job.
Yeah, or the people decided they didn't want to sell, right? So there's all kinds of the whys, but it was taken off the market for some reason, right? But we do know at that time, this is what they were asking, right? So we can infer some things. This is what they were asking. How long did they have it on the market? For 5 days. That's not very long. 39 days. It's not really that long. So we have some idea of, hey, this one was just a lot, right? But it was taken.
It means they fired their agent and sold it themselves.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely, right? Maybe they decided to do it for sale by owner. Maybe the market shifted, right? And they've decided that they don't want to work with an agent anymore, or they switched, right? Maybe their agent switched brokerages, quit. Who knows, right? The why is us having to take some leaps and speculate, and that's never a good idea. But we can look at what does the data tell us. This is how long it was on the market. These were the prices at that time that they were hoping for, right? Okay, and also square footage, right? Okay, so I want to show you the next thing with the CMA. Right, you got a couple different options down here, right? I'm going to go into one of them because I'm not a cloud CMA expert. I haven't played with that one enough yet. So I'm going to do this one. So on the far left, if you didn't see it, I clicked CMA. This brings me into the MLS's version of building out a CMA. Okay, so it started. I got to pick my person, right? I'm gonna pick Emily, right? Because this accidentally gets sent to her, she won't care, right? So I'm sending it to Emily. I can type in my description if I want, right? 125 Cherry Drive, CMA. Okay, and then I go to the next step, pages. And I've got all these different things. This is where you guys are going to have to play a little bit to figure out what you like. So I'm just going to go step by step here. So cover. I can do a cover sheet, or I can do a cover sheet with a photo. You don't want to do both, right? You don't need two cover sheets. All right, so I'm going to select cover sheet with a photo. I don't have a photo currently, but you could go drive by the place, say it's for sale by owner, take a picture of it. You could go on Google Maps, grab a photo off of there, grab a photo, go on any search on your computer where they have a front picture, take that picture, download the picture, and put that as your cover photo, okay? Now I'm going to go into subjects and adjustments. This is where we were talking, Rich, where I could say, okay, a 1.5 bath compared to a 1-bath is worth X number of dollars difference. Well, how do I know what that number is? I don't. I would have to ask an appraiser. Hey, Steve, the appraiser, a 1-bath versus a 1.5 bath. Like, how much extra value is that extra half bath? Oh, it's about $1,500. Made that number up. Now I could go in and put it in here and say, compare the one with 1.5 bath minus $1,500.
Okay.
Right? I don't do this a lot because it's not where I'm comfortable. I'm not comfortable making those number adjustments, right? So I'm not going to add any of those. Comparables. This is where you're going to get some really cool things that you can start to use. So as you do this to practice the first time, just do every one of them. Like, select every one of these so you can see which ones you like. Well, maybe I want mins and maxes. I want days on the market. I want a list price to sales price chart. I want a 3-up comparison of my CMAs. I want a pricing recommendation, right? And maybe I want this one too, right? So you can see the difference, right? So just select, right? You're gonna have to practice to kind of see which ones you like. Static. These are images, right? And I think these are really beneficial for visuals for your people. So again, you're going to have to pick some of these. So maybe I pick activity versus timing. Maybe I pick the effect of overpricing. Maybe I want the benefits of using a realtor. Maybe I want something about setting the price. Maybe I want what it takes to show. All right, so I just picked some, right? I'm not giving you any recommendations, I'm literally going through and saying, hey, I'm just picking these. They're not my favorites, I'm just picking them.
Right.
And then I want the CMA. And then you can change wherever these go. Say I wanted the map to go up in the process. Say I wanted it to be first.
You can do that.
I can change where these go, right? So I moved the map up. Make sense? Go to next. Here's your subject property. So you could, if it's from an MLS, you could type in the MLS number, or you have to type in the project manually or search for it to autofill. Well, we don't have an MLS. So now we would have to come in and enter in some of our data, right? Yeah. Sherry Drive, right? 70401. And it's in Hammond, Louisiana, right? It is in College Town subdivision. And you can go and put anything you want in here. The more you put in, the more complete your CMA is going to come up. So the more you put in here, the more it's going to put onto your thing that you will literally print out to give to your person. Right? For my things, I'm just leaving these couple things in here. If I wanted to upload the photo, let's see what happens if I try to browse here. We're gonna use this one. There's my photo. There's the picture of my house, right? That's just what happened to be on my computer, right? So that's what I'm gonna use, right? If I wanted to use this one, boom. All right, so there's gonna be my cover photo. Here can be my remarks, right? So about my CMA, market analysis of 125 Sherry Drive compared to properties over the last 6 months. Whatever, right? I could go locate it on the map. So I could go type in 125 Sherry Drive, Hammond, Louisiana, locate it. Boom. Right? So now I would want to make sure that it's in the right spot. And it's not. So it would need to be over here. So this again, why do you know your neighborhoods?
Oh, you can move it?
Yep. So you can drag this wherever you put it. So now I have it located, right? So the more I'm getting right, the better I'm going to look when I hand this to my people. So here's my cover, right? Contact information, I can plug in their stuff. Because I have my MLS info in, it has all of my stuff here, right? You can always edit it. It would show you the picture of the house that you put in there. It brings us back to our comparable list that we brought over. So now you could go redouble check to make sure that all of these are appropriate. For our circumstances, we're just gonna say that they are, because I don't want to spend 20 minutes looking at each of these photos right now. I know what this house looks like. You don't. You're gonna have to go look at it to be able to compare, right? Next one, I look at the map. It's showing me where all the comps are, right? They're fairly close, right? So I'm starting to get an idea of where all my comps are. We're at the adjustment stage. So again, this is where you could come in and start adjusting your pricing. Okay, I'm not dealing with any of that. On pricing, it gives me all of my stuff. It summarizes them all together of here's the low, here's the median, here's the average, here's the high, right? And this is where you get in here and says, you can start providing some more info. So here's the suggested price. So this, and I've told this to people before, when I'm going through the suggested price, I'm gonna leave this blank because I want to know my numbers when I go in. So then we can talk about, because I'm bringing that one-page CMA, I'm bringing this with me, right? So how I can point this out, and I'm literally gonna write, your house is gonna sell for option A, option B, option C. Option A is going to be a higher price point in their range. B is going to be a middle to high. Oh, let's go middle, right? Middle to high price point in their range. And C, lower end of.
You have numbers on there?
Nope, I'm gonna write them, right? I wanna write it. Now, if I'm just, yeah, so if I'm just delivering this to you, I maybe would put suggested price, please call me to discuss. Right, if I'm just dropping this off at a for sale by owner, I don't want to just give them the number and then they're like, oh great, and then they go do it. Like I want to get in front of you, I want to show you my value. So I'm putting this on here, guys, for you to see this of how I would do this. So let's say that this house is going to sell for somewhere between 150 and 135,000. I would write A, 150,000, B, 143,750, C, 135, right? So I would give that range, and I'm using this range based on that data that I saw from that one-line CMA of your house should sell in this price range. I'm comfortable taking this listing at any of these three prices. Now I'm going to explain to them. If we choose A, here's what this means, Steve. This is at the higher end of what the market's willing to pay right now. There's a good likelihood that your house will be on the market for longer days on market. Let's look at the data. See how they're higher? They're on market for 100 days, they're on market for 92 days, they're on market for 300 days, whatever. So if you're willing to be on the market for a longer period of time, we could choose to be around this number. Option B is where I think we're going to get a lot of activity. We're down in kind of the middle high range of where the market is allowing you to go. Your days on market are going to be something around this number, right? Based on this numbers that we looked at with the one-line CMA. So you're going to be on the market probably 30 to 40 days, right? And then option C, we're at the lowest end, right, of what the market's going to pay. I expect people to really be all over this. So we might get into a multiple offer situation. Could be, you never know. But this is definitely the deal of the deal number. So of these, which would you choose? Which one would you like me to market your property at?
It's gonna go back to them motivation, huh?
Absolutely goes to their motivation, right? So they're either going to pick A or B more than likely. They usually don't want to pick C.
Right.
But how do I get them focused on it? I literally draw a box around my numbers, right? And here's the cheesy part of it, because people don't think outside the box. I put your focus right there. So if it said 150, 130, 140, 143, 750, and 135, there's a really high likelihood that you're going to pick one of those three numbers. Right? Now, could they come back and be like, well, can we do like 145? We can absolutely do whatever you want.
Right.
But I kept you in my box.
Yeah.
You're still in the range that I think your property is going to sell based on my evaluation of the market.
Right.
Right? So you can I leave this blank because I want to write it out, because I want to meet with that person. I'm putting this here for you guys just as a note. And then any other notes, right, down here for about the price. The higher value is going to lead to longer days on market, right? I'm literally making something up right now.
Right.
Okay. And then I hit finish. Now, don't just email this, right? Don't just hit email and send it to your client, because you probably made a boo-boo somewhere, and that's okay. So I want you to hit view CMA. And while this is going through, it's literally generating my packet. Okay. So this would be the picture of the house. I picked this one, right? It's got research and prepared by me on this property, prepared exclusively for your client. So this could be your for sale by owner. This could be your person that you're going on your listing presentation for, but it's specifically for them. That looks pretty nice. Got my ugly little mug and all my info on it, right? Mm-hmm. So if they didn't know it was me, it's me now. And now we start going through the things that we put in here. So here's that CMA map. Remember, I moved it up to the first thing. Well, this is now the first thing. So it has my address, it's got the date, and now it shows me all of the properties that I'm using as a comparison. It also shows me where my house is because I put that on the map. Now we scroll down, right? Again, made by me, right? Here's the minimum and maximum. The listings in this analysis can be summarized as follows. They're between 115 and 169.9. 3 bedrooms, 1 to 2 full baths, 1,225 square feet to 1,305, 89.84 to 133.82 per square foot, right? And then 106 to 133 per sold square foot. So it's just a quick little brief overview. Now I get into a static picture. How many days on market have they been? Well, Mr. Steve, Mr. Seller, do you want to be way up here on longer days on market, or you want to be down here? Well, I want to be down here. Okay, well, let's talk about how we can do that. Here's the list price to sales price graph. Well, the ones that don't have a red box haven't sold yet. All right, all of these have sold. Well, you'll notice they've all sold for pretty close, if not more than their list price. That means they're doing a good job in pricing correctly, and that's what we want to do for you, Mr. Steve. Now here's a 3-by comparison. So it takes the photos of the properties, the comparative properties, and then gives me address and all of their info. So now I can compare this to that person's house. Steve, this one happens to be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's in very good condition. That's a lie. I know this house, right? Square footage, they can start to look at and compare to their house.
Right.
Well, it's going to do that for all of your comps that you pulled. And in our case, it was 13 or something like that, right? So that's going to be multiple pages of that. Here's that pricing recommendation sheet, right? So it's got the general facts, little blurb thing that was on there. It gives us our stats again for the market. And then this is where I would draw that box, right? This is where I put those notes for you. I would literally draw a box right here. A, B, and C, and talk about it. And then I circle whatever one they agree to. And then here's any other notes like that I was typing in on that page, right? Here's the multi-CMA 3-up comparison, right? It's very similar to the other one. It's just a matter of which one do you like better, right? So that's why you wouldn't do both, right? I did both just so you could see, right? Another static picture, I did activity versus timing. I like this one because it talks about, look, your activity when we list it in the first 2 weeks, very, very, very high. And then it very quickly starts bottoming out. So we want to make sure that we are priced where people are going to want to buy your property in these first couple of weeks. Because after week 2, it bottoms out. And if you're way over here and you've been on the market for 6 weeks, well, there's not a lot of people looking anymore. So now you make a price change, like maybe it gets seen by a lot of people, maybe it doesn't. Like, let's price it correctly in the beginning, so that way we see the most people taking a look at it. Another graph, right? Effects of overpricing. I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can see, obviously the longer it's on there, the worse it is. I picked that benefits of using a professional realtor. If you want to use it, great. Here's another one on setting the price, right? Seller's desired price, buyer's desired price. But we want to get in the middle.
I've seen that one before. That's good.
This is market value. We want to make sure we hit this, not here, not here. We want to get you in here.
Which one is that again? Because I didn't see that one.
Setting the price.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. As you do this the first time, like go through and select all of them. So then you can figure out, I really like that one.
I didn't see that one before.
So now I can use that one going forward, right? I picked the what it takes to show. Like, this is just extra value that you could give to those people, right? Now, let's say you want to print it or download it. You absolutely could. But let's say you didn't like it, right? Let's say you didn't like one of these. Well, I could go back to pages and I don't like that CMA, I want the other one. And I didn't pick the market analysis explanation, and I want that. Let's go put it up underneath the map, right? Well, now I could go through and just refinish it and view it. And now it's generating a new one.
Right.
So I went and deleted, I just clicked off that old one, right? Just to close it. But you can download it, have it, whatever. But now this is the new one I just made, right? I just went back to there, put my map, and then I added this market analysis explanation. Well, this is something that I really like as I practice, and I just make a fake one. Right? You don't even have to type in all the extra stuff we did. Just print all these things out and go, ooh, I like this one.
Right.
I want it in all my CMAs.
Right.
Or ooh, I really like the minimum and maximum page. Like, that really makes sense to me and how I can explain it. Well, good. Always put that one in.
Right.
Cool. So then you
play to your strong strengths.
absolutely, right? So now it gives you some visuals to use as you're going through. Is this, assuming this was a photo of their house, right? Is this a pretty powerful visual when you walk in as a CMA or something that you're dropping off to a for sale by owner? I would hope so.
I would think so too.
Right? This is a pretty powerful tool. Now, you also can play with, let me move this. I'm gonna go to my recent searches. I'm gonna go back into the one that we had, right? And you can play with Cloud CMA, right? I haven't done this one, so I'm not going to go too far into this, right? It's $0, right? So you can activate your account and go through and play with Cloud CMA. You, Steve, you may love this one more than the one that we did. Cool.
Right.
Then do this one.
Right.
You may only ever want to do the one-line CMA because you're going to talk and you're going to do this in front of the person on your computer, and you're going to go through and say, hey, Mr. Seller, let's look at this house. Is this one comparable or not? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Click. Next one. Nope. Good. Next one. Yes. Yes. No. No. And you're going to build it right there in front of them. Maybe that's your value proposition. I don't know. But that's just a matter of you getting comfortable. So if you want to do Cloud CMA, be my guest. Do you want to just do the one-line CMA? Be my guest. Do you want to make one to drop off or take with you to have an extra packet of stuff to go through and have a visual? Do this one. Does that make sense to everybody?
Hey,
Yeah.
yeah. And Anthony, I actually did a Cloud CMA not too long ago.
Yep.
And it definitely gives you a lot of stuff.
Yep.
But I'm a firm believer in the KISS method.
Yep.
Keep it simple, stupid. I think that Cloud is really overwhelming when it's just too much information. I think that's just my opinion, but it could work for other people, like you said. But
Absolutely.
I think when you keep it simple, bullet points, because people are already nervous and stuff when they're selling houses and all that kind of thing already. So
absolutely, right? So this is the different personality type, right? Somebody in our PC world or somebody on this call may go, oh no, like that's going to be my thing, and dive into the Cloud CMA and blow us all away with their CMA. Cool. It's not going to be me.
You need to give that to an engineer.
Sure. It's not going to be me. This
not me.
This one is more than enough for me to demonstrate some value, because I want to be in that listing presentation, building that reputation. So the one line is for me. That's what I'm going through. That's my data to talk from. Well, I know that not everybody is a bullet point data guy, right? Or a bullet point data girl. So I'm going to bring that bigger one and put it in front of them and say, hey, there's visuals. We can talk about all that good stuff. And they say, nope, just give me the numbers. Cool. Flip to page 4, right? And I can just talk about the numbers. I get to feel that out, right? Now, in case you've never played around in the MLS at all, I'm going to show you something else while we're in here. You've got all these different things up here, right? And if you've never gone and looked at them, they're helpful, right? So I'm going to unclick that so it's not blue. But I'm going to want to know some stuff. So if I click on the taxes and it says owner's name and it's an LLC, that's a business. So now they may not be as negotiable. Maybe that's why they're on the market for 300+ days. Start to get something. I can go to the Secretary of State page and go find out who that is.
Right.
So let's do that. Search for Louisiana business. All right, so I would go look this up. I happen to know who this is, but
I don't.
Not a robot. At least not yet. Search. So now I can start to go, ooh, there's a Hammond one. All right. Move everybody's picture. Hammond, details. All right, so now I can see care of Daryl Smith. All right. So Daryl Smith, and this is office, right? So I now know the owner of West Side Properties is Daryl Smith. Well, if I know anything about Hammond, Daryl owns a lot of properties. All right. But this is where you can find legal descriptions. Right. So if all of a sudden you're writing a contract and the legal description isn't, the agent didn't bother to put it in, or they put per title, I can go pull from this tax. There's tax information, right? You've got your history. So I can see when the prices were changed, when it expired, right? I can see that Daryl bought it back in 99 for 65K, right? And now he wanted to get like 160 at one point, right? So he's trying to sell it for 139. That's a pretty good turnaround.
That's Daryl.
Yep. So you can play through these a little bit. So the parcel map, so now it tells me the shape of the property, right? So I've got all my stuff. I've got the overall size of this. It gives me the map. So now if I wanted to, I could always go steal part of this picture if I need to. Maybe this is one of my cover photos. Who knows? I can play with the flood map. So it gives me an idea. It's AE. Like, how do I figure that out?
How do you figure?
Well, it tells me it's in AE, right? I can also go to the, go a little off base, but that's okay. Just go search Louisiana floods, right? So now Ag Center. Click on that.
Not your first rodeo.
Oh, I want to go to the base floods. I'm going to go to the maps. Yes, I agree. Not sue anybody. And let's just look at the one that we're looking at for us. Go. Zooms in. There you go. It is an AE. Gives me ground elevation 43 feet. All right. So I now know when I'm looking at this map, if I start backing up, look at how big that AE is. All right. Everywhere in Louisiana is in a flood zone. Whether you happen to be X or not, it's still a type of flood zone. So you can see, because of the creeks that are in this area, higher flood prices, right? So there's all kinds of cool stuff that I start to get from this listing. Now, for you guys trying to figure out this house that you know very little about, I'm giving you this secret house. Well, how do I track down some of it? Well, first thing I would do is this. I would go to the map, and in this little jump to address, I would go 125 Sherry Drive, Hammond, Louisiana, 70401. Take me there, brother. All right. So now I'm going to zoom in on the little map. I'm going to click on it. Huh. It's owned by MMN Rental LLC. Weird. I happen to have this page still up, right? Let's give it to me. So now, MMN Rental LLC. Still not a robot. All right. Who owns it? Oh, there he is. All right. So this is owned by Melissa and me, right? So I now have the owner's names of this property. So if I'm preparing CMA, I could put for MM Rental care of these people's names if I want to. Shows that I did a little bit of extra, right? So now I've got this. Well, I can click on tax, and now it starts to tell me all kinds of interesting, fun things. Again, it gives me the legal descriptions. right? It tells me the lot number, it tells me the block number, right? It gives me assessment values and taxes. So now as I'm talking to my people, I know what it was assessed for over these years. So I can tell them 2017 total taxes this, 2018 total taxes this, 2019 total taxes down $3, right? Here's where I want to start getting into some really interesting stuff. Building square footage. Now I start to have an idea of total square footage. And now as I'm doing my CMA, I've got a number that I can start to use. I know the age of the property. I know what we paid for it, right? So I can start to get an idea of, let's say that this thing's worth $150,000. Well, hey, Mr. Neeson, I know that when you bought it back in 2014, you got it for under 90. You're standing to make a $60,000 windfall here.
Right.
Ooh, that might be, I forgot how much I paid for it. Okay. Start to get all kinds of cool information here. I don't have a last listing photos. I don't even know if this one was on the MLS. So let's go back in. I don't remember if we bought this. I just put a bunch of 9s. And I'm going to put 125 Sherry Drive. Shouldn't be that many results. Delete.
A lot of those.
This one. This is what I want. 125 Sherry Drive. All right. So this one didn't show up in the last 9999 days on the MLS. So what do you think? How do you think I got this one off market? Right? So you got to start doing a little bit of digging to start figuring out, okay, I don't have an old listing to cheat from. Right? We've told you guys you can't trust the old listings of how many square feet it is, and we're assuming that every agent got it right. Well, if you make a mistake and I follow you and I use your info and I now make a mistake and it's the game of telephone, right? We can't do that. So I'm giving you one that you can't use. There's no old MLS data here, right? So you got to do a little bit of digging. You got to start figuring out some of this on your own to get some comparisons. You now know it was 17 something.
From the taxes.
Right? From the taxes, building square footage, not living, total square footage, 1,700. But I now have a general idea when I do my criteria on a search. Let's go back to my recent searches.
So wouldn't you, we're taking everything you just said, wouldn't you just automatically go to the taxes?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna start. That's where I'm gonna start getting some of my
Because I
data.
mean, that way I'm not relying, say you did the sale last time, or the agent, and you didn't do your homework properly.
Sure. I at least want to see it, right? I want to see an old listing,
Right.
right? Just to get an idea, because I want to look at the pictures and, you know, if let's say, I don't know, let's say this one, right? This stall drive, let's say it had sold before. So it had sold back, well, these are all expires. It sold back here. I could go back and look at this old one to see if they've done any major photo improvements. All of a sudden it's all new flooring and it's like, oh, I've seen that you've updated it since you purchased. Oh yeah, we could put all the floors in and okay. Like it gives me some history data, right? So I want to look at them, but I'm always going to err on the side of, somebody made a mistake somewhere, and I want to dig in and be as specific as I can. Okay, Rich and Jack. I know Jackie stepped away from the computer a little bit. Rich, any questions on this?
No, man, it was good.
Okay, so that gives you a little bit. Gives you a little bit of area to go play and figure out some new things. Like I said, I'm going to go put a key. The lockbox is already at that house. So my next steps for you guys are this. Go look at the house. Now compare it to the properties that you're finding in your CMA search. Start building a CMA, like you're gonna come to me and try to get me to sell my property. And then we're gonna take it to the next level and we're gonna write an offer. So you guys now have a buyer and they're willing to pay X, Y, Z. How are you gonna have that discussion with the buyer based on the price that you've got? Here's what the market analysis says. How much do you want to offer, Mr. Client? Cool. Let's have that discussion. And then you're going to write it up. You're going to write an offer. Make sense?
Yep.
Cool, Rich?
Not totally, but we'll get there.
Yep, you're good. So lots of next steps. So just fun stuff to play.
Yep.
Get better every day. All right, guys.
All right, brother. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.